Mariners 3, Guardians 1. Colt Emerson hits a homecoming home run in the state of Ohio, which lifts the Mariners offense past the Guardians on one of possibly its ugliest nights of the season to this point. Welcome to the Dom Skeen channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. I know I'm not in my usual setup, don't have any Mariners stuff to point to, but anyway, what I can point to tonight is Colt Emerson's homecoming homer in the state of Ohio. That's about it. Luis Castillo also had a great night, in case you were wondering. But Joey Cantillo absolutely annihilated the Mariners with his curveball. And I put up here one of his pitch charts, which shows, and I tweeted this out, and I basically said, the control the zone era of Mariners baseball, that feels like a distant era right now, even though that was like 7 years ago, depending on which year you pick, like the start of it or the kind of the heart of it. But that, it was only like 6 or 7 years ago, and now, it feels like an entirely different era because when Joey Cantillo goes out there with his curveball and gives you 10 swinging strikes on 45 pitches, 50% usage, it's 22% on the year. You can't throw a curveball that much and have this good of results, right? Well, in Joey Cantillo's case, which, by the way, I've said Cantillo before. I heard Dan Wilson say Cantillo in an interview before the game, and it based on how it looks and based on the fact that, like, if you're pronouncing the name Cantillo, like in Spanish, it would be Cantillo, right? But it is Cantillo because it's a name. Anyway, let me know down in the comments below if you have any reasoning as to why it is Cantillo and not Cantillo, other than the fact that it's his name. But anyway, his curveball is also up on velocity. Despite throwing it 45 times, 80.8 mile an hour average velocity on it. That's 1.3 miles an hour up from his 79.5 that he's been pumping it at usually this season. So the velocity increases, not just on the curveball with the four seam, a mile up for Cantillo. And then the changeup also 1.2 ticks up. So a whole lot of velocity increase for Joey Cantillo here. Let's see, was it the same for Luis Castillo? It was. So it looks like that was just what the environment was playing to. That kind of humid Cleveland air. It's industrial and stuff. That air is not. It's not clear coastal air. It's not the air that you get on the beach out in on the West Coast. So that pumped the velocities up tonight. The movement on the pitches seems like it was, for the most part, pretty regular between the two starters. Very regular for Luis Castillo. But with Cantillo, here's what really made me see this as something that the Mariners had, like as one of the ugliest offensive nights of the entire season for the Mariners offense so far. Oh gosh, I think I just said offense like 3 times in that sentence. But even uglier, the Mariners offense tonight against Joey Cantillo. So 18 swinging strikes on 90 pitches. He looks amazing there, right? 83.8 mile an hour average exit velocity. Just 3 hard hits on 90 pitches. He looks amazing in both of all those regards. But then you look at the plate discipline metrics, and this is where you can uncover some of the truth about the strategies behind these performances. Because when you see a 37% zone rate on Joey Cantillo right here, especially that curveball, a 27% zone rate on that curveball, that is as low as you're going to see all season, for the Mariners or anybody that they're going against. The Mariners are really kind of a control-heavy team. Like they do control the zone on the pitching end still, I would say. Great at limiting the walks and getting the whiffs and, the zone rate and stuff. So the Mariners are not going to have guys with a 37% zone rate pitching for them, almost assuredly, in any start the entire year. However, some pitchers, right, when you go up against the Mariners, they're willing to chase anything. They're whiffing at a whole lot of stuff. The breaking balls are giving them so much trouble. You have guys who can run these crazy crazy like low rates of throwing the ball in the zone because it's like, I just don't have to throw the baseball in the zone. Like I don't have to throw strikes. And then you get a 59% strike rate, which is also abysmal. No pitcher is going to run, a sub 60% strike rate and be successful for more than like a start or two at a time max. It's very rare. But then a 35% chase rate is what enables him to do that. Is that when the opposing team is chasing at your stuff so much, and also only swinging at 52% of the pitches in the zone. The Mariners took a lot of these curveballs in the zone. I mean, they took a lot of all the pitches in the zone, but especially like the curveball when it was hanging, you notice, okay, you're taking it when it's in the zone, and then when it's out of the zone, that's when you're chasing after it. Really just did not have a good read on this pitch. The curveball, does have minus 17 inches of induced vertical break, the 10 inches of horizontal break. So it does, like, this is a really good pitch. The changeup's also usually a really good pitch for him. He gets multiple swinging strikes on the curveball, the four seam, the cutter, and the changeup. The 10 on 45 for the curveball, then 3 on 21 four seams, 3 on 14 cutters, and 2 on 9 changeups. And I know I'm focusing on the opposing starting pitcher before I get into anything else, but that's just how much I was, that's how kind of damning this performance was for the Mariners offense and for Joey Cantillo. It's like the Mariners played so well into Joey Cantillo's, his ability to, like what he does well tonight, and that allows him to run this insanely low strike rate because the Mariners are chasing so much. The zone rate is what it is, just so low, not getting any strikes. And then so I'm like, well, let's go look at what this actually looked like when we look at the pitching results up on the screen, right? And so I sorted it here to balls and strikes. You can look at the pitch types. First, let's look at the pitch types. You see the curveball is the one, that light blue is the dominant pitch. It's also the one that's below the zone all over here. I mean, you see, the Mariners pitchers, they're attacking up, with their four-seam fastball and up out of the zone and stuff. Not Joey Cantillo, he is throwing the curveball below the zone so much in this start. Usually that's just going to be the recipe for a whole lot of walks, but for him, it only ends up being 2 walks to the 9 strikeouts in 6 innings pitched tonight. Didn't hang too many of them over the plate, and when he did, Mariners didn't really do the damage they had to do. Let's just take a look at the results too. See which were the pitches that had, the big results on them. Four seam was Randy's double. Where was Colt's homer? There it is. So Colt's homer was on the changeup, which has usually been Joey Cantillo's really impressive pitch in the past, from what I've known. He throws it up in the zone, up and in on Colt Emerson, and Colt Emerson in a slump right now, admittedly, too. Puts that thing out of the yard. Great to see. The Mariners did not get hits. I mean, unsurprisingly, on a lot of these low curveballs. They were not slapping them into the outfield. And I did think Angie Mentink had a good point early in the game before it became like an onslaught of curveballs, before there was like all these strikeouts, and it was just piling up early on. Angie said that, when Josh Allen was at the plate, she said something about like you cannot be looking. It was something about you can't be looking to hit a homer, and you have to be looking to do less with it. And she said something technical that I'm forgetting right now, but it was some good stuff. It was exactly like how you're going to look at this from the hitting perspective. Joey Cantillo. Okay, we'll finish off with this, and then we'll be done with it. But balls and strikes. I mean, you look at all the balls he's throwing down, but then all that orange, right, below the zone, those are all strikes. So the Mariners are swinging at all of those pitches. Right, so the fact that the Mariners, got strikes on all those pitches, that's like a pretty good number of all of the curveballs that were below the zone too. Pretty significant number turned into these swinging strikes. So, I mean, that pitch absolutely dominant for Joey Cantillo, and part of it was him, but a large percentage of that was the Mariners offense. Very revealing, very damning for the Mariners offense to perform that way against that pitch in particular. That's just that's exactly what this team looks like, and a lot of these hitters specifically look like when they're struggling. So if you were gonna struggle, it's not the fashion you want to do it in. But hey, this might be the most negative I've ever sounded after a win all season long, or at least in quite a while. It's because what was done here is like that's something the Joey Cantillo thing. Most playoff teams are going to have a Joey Cantillo, and they're going to put him out there, and they're going to tell him to do exactly what he did against the Mariners, and until they burn this book on themselves, and they rewrite that book and say, hey, you can't do this against us. It's going to be a whole lot more of these, breaking ball heavy, throw it below the zone, no pitches to hit, and makes for tough watches too. When the Mariners are getting no pitches to hit and they're still striking out a whole bunch, and not walking. At least the control the zone teams, right? They would walk. So I think my big message going forward is going to be control the zone. And I didn't even really get to this in my pregame today. I talked a lot about Refsnyder, which Refsnyder, did not get a hit today. He put a couple balls in play. I mean, do I have to do this thing? Do I have to do the whole song and dance? I think you guys get the idea. Not a hard hit. Nothing with good expected batting average. There's really nothing to look at with Refsnyder from today to make the case that it was going on well. He did work, I think, a full count. So we can hold on to that. The fact that he worked some good counts and he looked like he was recognizing the pitches well. The actual doing damage on those pitches, it's been pretty rough. There was actually an interesting article from John. So John Morosi went on 710 Sports today, and you know what? Forget it. I am going to show you guys what he said. Yeah. So because I love this. This is exactly how I look at this stuff and how I talk. But it's also like sometimes it does feel like, okay, I'm the one who's going to come, defend all this to people who really don't care, whether, about this reasoning that I'm going to give them, and they're still going to be angry, regardless of it. But here's what Morosi said about Refsnyder and stuff. That might be the manager saying, I've asked Luke Raley to get one hit left on left. He probably didn't like the second matchup as much, and the analytics probably said the swing path of Refsnyder was a little better against that particular type of lefty than the previous one was. That's all very defensible. And that's exactly the type of stuff that I've been saying, that it's something deeper than we can see, right? Something about the swing path and the very specific stuff that Refsnyder does. And the better you can explain that, the better you can verbalize that, the better you'd be able to say what he's doing well right now and why it would change. But even if you know everything about Rob Refsnyder, at some point, 83 games in, it starts to be hard to argue with people who are, just talking about the results. And when you do, they're not gonna care what you say. And not that an argument is the goal. The goal is to go 1-0 every pitch, but does Refsnyder help you go 1-0 every pitch going forward? I still think so. As crazy as it sounds, and this is why, is because the analytics, I'm sure there's something in there that's saying that Refsnyder is still good. It's not nothing. It's not, and it's not just we don't want to eat this money. But the big picture here, sometimes managers over 162 games, they don't sacrifice a game. This is not the case at all. But you do make the point to your bosses that if this guy, for Refsnyder, is on my roster, he needs to play here. This is his spot. This is his job. It's almost like you're looking at the front office and saying, listen, if you're giving me him, he plays right here. This is his role. If Refsnyder's not going to hit against that lefty, he does not belong on the team. And he even says that, from a team that, this team does make bold moves. They, fired Scott Service really late into the 2024 season, at the end of August almost. So, they are willing to make, if you're going to make that move, you make any move. I do like the thought process from John Morosi there. And I agree that, there is specific stuff going on, the swing path, whatever, against certain guys. And, I don't have that information for you, but that is my opinion, and that is why I do not go and pile on to all the Refsnyder, talk about. Let's get rid of him, right now. I don't say that. Although I at this point, I don't think it's the craziest thing to say either, and I think I'm much more obviously, as anybody would, you're going to be moved. by 83 games of doing poorly. Like I have been moved further towards the side of got to get rid of this guy. But enough talk about Rob Refsnyder. I feel like we're doing this every day, and it's a pretty negative conversation, obviously, even if it's an important one. The Mariners' expected batting average today, 213 to the Guardians' 202. For 6 innings, this felt like the most loss like win. Or whenever we took the lead, what was it? The 7th inning when the Mariners took the lead, this felt like the biggest loss of a win. Like it felt like it just the way the game went, it felt like a loss. The bats were getting destroyed. By Joey Cantillo and his curveball. The Mariners actually did do a good job of controlling the zone to some degree in this one. Certainly, they got the Guardians up to 157 pitches, but a lot of that did come a little bit later against Heron, Espino, even a little bit. With Cantillo, he does get to 6 innings. So the strategy the last time that I was going to say before I wanted the refs to entertain it is that Cantillo, the first start he made against Seattle, Game 3 of the year, you got his pitch count up so quickly. That was the entire strategy, basically, was get his pitch count up quickly, and then eventually take those breaking balls as much as you can, force him to pitch out of the zone, because we want him to pitch out of the zone and take more pitches than you're going to swing at. The Mariners didn't chase, and they chased Joey Cantillo out of the game in the 4th inning instead of chasing the curveball into the dirt. So that would have been really the way to look at it, and if it's like, okay, he had one bad start against you, one good one. The third time, right, if you were to face him in the playoffs, right, that's kind of how you look at these things going forward. You would go with that first game plan against him, and you wouldn't. You look at the second one, you have a whole lot of film on what went wrong, what could go wrong. Then Luis Castillo, 6 innings of 1-run ball, 4 strikeouts to 1 walk. It doesn't matter, 4 hits, just 4 hard hits on the 91 pitches. And we haven't even talked about Colt Emerson's homer, really. But you get to, Luis Castillo, 10 swinging strikes on 91 pitches, 4 on 33 sliders. That was his main pitch. And then 2 on 28 four-seam fastballs as his secondary pitch. Then 4 also on 19 changeups. So he found a way to get a decent amount of swing and miss. 10 on 91, that's right where you want to be at, to be honest. And he kept the average exit velocity under 90 miles an hour, 88.1. Just 4 hard hits, really limited the damage, the scope of the damage, he kind of just contained it, to be honest. And the 68% strike rate, that's repeatable. That's a sign of like a good recipe for success. 52% zone rate. These are like exactly where you want these numbers to average out to. So this is like, this was, like a solid foundational start. This wasn't like a bizarre, wonky start from the Guardians offense or from Luis Castillo's angle. Except for the fact that he used the slider as his primary pitch. Forcing his secondary changeup as his third, and the sinker as his fourth, just 11 times. You end up with something that looks like a really good starting pitcher, and it's just in a weird path that you take to get there, with the slider being the primary pitch. But it worked, so I honestly would be hoping that you could do this again. Now, if other teams are going to say, oh, well, he's did this in his last start and he had the most success he's had in a little bit, then you might have to pivot back to something else. But I would go out in the next first, second, third inning, and the first time I face the next lineup I face, this next week, it's going to be with this kind of game plan, using the slider as the primary pitch. See if you can ride this, and if maybe the second time through the order, the next start, that's when you go back to the changeup fastball thing. But if you can get one time through the order of each game with a slider, four-seam, changeup mix, then maybe you can get the other one, one of the other. And if you get 2 times through the order, it's Luis these days. That's a good start, right? You get the other one with more of the chain, like either the four-seam changeup kind of even mix. I think that you can effectively game plan for multiple times through the order with Luis Castillo, if he has this other route to success. Okay, last thing got to talk about. So Cole Young went to Pittsburgh, hit that homecoming homer, his first game in Pittsburgh. 22 minutes from where he went to high school. Not quite as picturesque, picture perfect because it was like not 20 minutes away from where he went to high school, and it wasn't also like he had everybody in the stands that he knew here watching his first game in the state of Ohio after growing up there. But Colt Emerson did go to high school in Ohio, and this was his first game in the MLB back in Ohio, in the state of Ohio. So pretty special moment for him, and he does homer, and it does win the game for the Mariners. It ties the game up at one in the third inning uh, on the changeup. So really good for him. He was also going through a little bit of a slump, so good to see him get one out of there and break the slump a little bit. And 104 miles an hour of exit velocity, 26-degree launch angle, 361. The inside up changeup, and 850 expected batting average, homer in 23 to 30 ballparks. Love to see it from Colt Emerson. Not quite like the homecoming picturesque homer that Cole Young had, but Colt Emerson, just as you think he's getting into a slump, he has the most impressive swing of the game for the Mariners, the most impressive play of the game. And without that, you're definitely not tied, going until like the seventh inning. Then when you do produce those runs late, there's no guarantee that you're even going to be operating from a tie. Instead you might be operating from behind. You might be pressing. You're going to have basically nothing against Joey Cantillo. That was also, by the way, that broke up the no-hitter in the third inning, so who knows what would have happened without that. Then you get a couple of runs later on. JP hits it to the second baseman, to Bizana. He bobbles it a little bit and can't get JP out at first, and that scores I think Colt again. That was the go-ahead run in the game. And then Julio hits a single, just nice little single into left field, and it's 3-1 Mariners, and you take that one to the bank. Andres Munoz also comes in. 2 strikeouts, clean inning. Gabe Speiler, clean inning, no zeros across the box score, 9 pitches, 2 hard hits though. And then Jose Ferrer, 1 inning pitched, 1 strikeout, and 1 hard hit on 11 pitches. That being said, as long as you go 1-0 every pitch, stay stoic, and give all glory to God, you can't lose. The Mariners are still above 500, 42 and 41. See you guys tomorrow for Game 84. Will be the piggyback with Logan Gilbert getting piggybacked by Emerson Hancock. Going to be very interesting. I'll see you guys for the pregame tomorrow. Go Ems.